Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Uncle D, and I am back live. Shout out to everybody in the chat room. Uncle D is in the backyard. Um, so, a lot of these people will have you believe that Donald Trump just signed an executive order that's going to send us straight back to segregation. Okay? Now, for you all who don't understand what segregation is, there was a time where black people who were referred to as colored were not allowed to utilize public facilities like restaurants, hotels, theaters, bath, restrooms, water fountains. Um, and this particular um, social construct, basically, it was overturned during the civil rights era. Okay, separate but equal was what it stood on, and that was based on Plessy versus Ferguson, a case that had been around for almost 100 years. But then after the case of Brown versus the Board of Education, which is a law, it said that they could no longer discriminate against people based on their color. And there was a great lawyer who became a Supreme Court justice. His name was Thurgood Marshall, the Honorable Thurgood Marshall. He went to Lincoln College in Nebraska, and he also attended Howard University in D.C., their law school. And this man with a bunch of great lawyers, white, black lawyers, Jewish lawyers, they brought a case before the Supreme Court that overturned the whole notion of separate versus equal. And that set apart the desegregation of the United States. Prior to that, largely black people had their side of town and their facilities, and white people had theirs. And in fact, it also applied to many people who were not black or white, but they were also considered coloreds. Even the Irish had to deal with it. The Italians had to deal with it. Matter of fact, the segregation was so heavily enforced that people oftentimes were placed in jail, and they were unalived because of these things. So keep in mind, this was very serious, and this wasn't that long ago. Many of you have relatives who are alive right now who had to deal with segregation. Okay, now where are we now in 2025? Right now in 2025, we have a lot of alarmists out there, and they will have you believe that the world is coming to an end because of President Trump, that the world has never seen a man like this before as the president of the United States, and my God, he's going to be the downfall of America, and this 80-year-old man is going to stay in office forever. 80-year-old man is going to stay in office forever, right? Not saying that he's not going to make some changes, and I'm referring to Donald Trump, Trump 47. But I'd like to point out to you all that Donald Trump was also the 45th president, along with being the 47th president, and that was from 2016 till about 2020, and we survived that. Okay, so we kind of already know who this man is. I'm happy to see that he's not tweeting as much as he was tweeting before, and he's using other social media sites to get his information out. But the bottom line is, the man is not going to be in office forever, but he did enter into the presidency with a referendum. You're looking at a man who was targeted by the American judicial system on the state level, federal level, civil and criminal. And so you have to understand, when somebody has experienced the injustice of the American justice system, what I'm saying is, when they have experienced being targeted unfairly by the justice system for what is tantamount to misdemeanor crimes, then they have a different take on the justice system. How can you expect a man who was unjustly prosecuted to rely on the courts? And I'm not saying he shouldn't. I'm just simply pointing out that his perspective on the justice system is probably not what it was. I'm telling you, and there's a group of people, I'm not going to say any names right now, but there's a group of people in these United States who have been unfairly targeted by the justice system, and you wonder why. When they want to have their voice heard, they begin to tear up people's cities and do stuff that others would consider stealing and rioting. I'm not saying you should. I'm just pointing out the fact that oftentimes people who don't experience justice in the justice system, they then begin to disregard the laws, and they don't have the reverence and respect for the judiciary that they should. In walks Donald Trump. This man was targeted by the justice system a lot. Okay, we saw it happen over the past 4 years heavily, not because he had necessarily done anything more wrong than anybody else, but because they were trying to use that justice system to put him in jail, take his money, and it didn't work. And now he is in the position that they absolutely didn't want him to be in. He is back in power. He is over and above the executive branch of the United States. He's the most powerful man in the world because he sits as head of state of the most powerful country in the world. And therefore, that is just what he is by the nature of the game. And what they're doing is they're trying everything they possibly can to excuse the sniffles, cold and whatnot, and got allergies and everything. Excuse me. Shout out to everybody in the chat room. Y'all hit the #1 button. This is all you're going to get from Uncle D. Uncle D is on vacation. Okay, I got my little bubbly toys in the back over there. Look at my little bubbly toys. This is what we doing here. Okay, Uncle D is on vacation. All right, I'm chilling. All right, if you want me to be live, this is as live as it's going to get for you all. Okay, I'm on vacation right now. Nevertheless, back to what I was saying. And I'm going to explain the segregation, but I got to do the build up. I got to let y'all understand where we're coming from. Okay, so that being the case, and as I said, Donald Trump does not have the reverence and respect for the justice system because he sees how easily it could be used to target individuals and groups of people. And I'm black people. Okay, I'm talking about black people. Black people know that the justice system has been used to target us unfairly. I'm not comparing Donald Trump, this white billionaire, to black people, and he hasn't had the situations, the oppression, the systematic oppression. He's been privileged his whole life, XYZ, got it. Nevertheless, in this particular limited situation, I can see how Donald Trump would kind of think that the justice system is unfair, okay? And so because of that, he's probably inclined to disregard some of the things that these lunatic, as he said it, this is his quote, not mine, I'm trying to keep my law license, but these lunatic left-wing justices are doing. I can see how he would say that about them. You understand? Now, that being the case, he don't really care about what they say. His job, he's been ushered back into the White House. He has a mandate. That mandate says what? We want you to get rid of this debt. We want you to drain the swamp. Okay, somebody type drain the swamp in the chat room. We want you, and part of draining the swamp is figuring out how the swamp has been getting funded. And we know now that the funding has been coming from some of these institutions like USAID, Department of Education, IRS, Social Security Administration, the military industrial complex, i.e. the Pentagon, the Department of Defense, really. And so what he's doing is he's going through the books with a fine-tooth comb, and we found out a lot. We found out they was racing crickets on treadmills. I mean, they're giving hysterectomies to mice. They're trying to determine how many gays they can make in South America. I mean, this is what we doing. This is what we doing with the American taxpayers' money. I mean, we got roads and buildings and trains. Where's our bullet train? We want our bullet train from like LA to San Francisco or Dallas to Austin or something like that. We don't have that, but you got time to see how fast a transgender gerbil will deteriorate on the top of a 747 flying at a 30-degree angle downward, okay, in a hurricane. But you don't have money so that we could fix some of these roads. I'm just saying, we just pointed out as the American public. Nevertheless, or needless to say, the American public pretty much supports Donald Trump and what he's doing. We support DOGE, Doge, Dog, Doggy, whatever you want to call it. We support all that. And so now what they're trying to do is just try to find a reason. And when I say they, I'm talking about the Democrats, little d, Democrats. They're trying to find a reason to make Americans mad at Donald Trump or make us second guess what he's doing, and we're not. We are happy to see the immigrants go. We're happy to see illegal immigrants. Look, we know that you have been working hard, and somebody type work hard. We know you've been working hard. We know you've been working hard. You've been working hard. You've been buying houses. You've been buying cars. You've been paying for your food. And to the rest of us Americans, that's just more competition for housing, food, and cars. You're the reason that we have higher prices, because there's more people looking for the things that we also want to buy. We like to buy that house that you're being kicked out of right now. Matter of fact, what we should do is get an ICE list. Every time somebody gets kicked out of the house, we should go ahead and holler at the city, be like, can we go on ahead and take that house over? We got some good American families. We like putting that house. I know that's cold-blooded, but why should we suffer too? Okay, you lived here in America for 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35 years for free. And, you know, you did. Now you got to go on back. You got to go on back to Colombia, or go back to Nigeria, or go back to wherever you're going back to. Go on back. Okay, it's time for you to ease on out of here, back to Cuba, back to Haiti. Okay, we need to get you on out of here. And we shouldn't all have to suffer. We should have that house, okay? Again, if you came here illegally, most Americans are with you going home. Whether you're a criminal or not, most Americans believe that there's a law on the books that said it is a misdemeanor if you cross these territorial borders without permission. Okay, you didn't enter the right way. You stayed for a long time. You reaped the benefit. You had some children. You raised the children. Hey, kudos for you. Now it's time to go. It's time for you to get on up out of here. Okay, so most Americans agree with the audits. We agree with the immigration. We agree with him shutting down a lot of these useless governmental entities that really are just paying people to hold up jobs that are probably unnecessary and could be combined with other departments. For instance, they rolled U.S. aid into the Treasury, into the State Department. They rolled the health. They rolled the education, the Department of Education and Nutrition section into the Health and Human Services. Makes sense. They rolled the student loans that the Department of Education was administering into the Treasury Department. I mean, that's where the money's coming from anyway, right? Might as well. Cool. All right. Nevertheless, what they're trying to do is make people angry. And the way they're trying to make people angry is by telling you some outlandish stuff. So let's talk about segregation. Lyndon B. Johnson, he was a president after Kennedy. He was Kennedy's vice president. Old white fella from Texas, pretty darn racist. He was definitely pretty racist. Old white dude from Texas. And he actually signed the Civil Rights Bill. And in addition to that, he signed an executive order. Specifically, this executive order said, we are going to desegregate certain facilities, okay? Now, Barack Obama, our president, came along and he said he added a line to that, okay? Now, mind you, this was originally for black people, okay? Lyndon B. Johnson, old racist dude from Texas, who signed the Civil Rights Bill and signed this executive order, said we're going to desegregate some of these facilities, okay? In other words, we're going to make sure that the whites and the blacks are used in the same facility. We're not going to let them be segregated. White people, black people. That's what this was about. It was a horrible time. All right, so let's fast forward to Barack Obama, 2008 to 2016. Barack Obama made an amendment to that particular executive order. Okay, that executive order went from desegregating black people to white people to desegregating biological men and biological women. No longer are we going to force biological men who wear dresses to use the restrooms that men use. We're going to let them use the women's restroom. So that's the type of desegregation that Barack Obama. So he expanded what desegregation meant. It no longer is just about people's color. Now it's about we're going to let these men with these dresses go in here with these women and use the facilities that biological women normally use, okay? So that's what Barack Obama did. That's what B.H. Barry O. He did that, B.H.O. All right, and of course Trump comes along, Trump 47, he said, no, we're going to go back to that type of segregation. What we're not going to do We're not going to allow. We're going to. So he changed that executive order again. He put it back to how Lyndon B. Johnson had it, and said we're going to keep these people segregated. Okay, we're going to keep men using men's restroom. If you were born a man, you're going to use the men's facility. If you're born a woman, you're going to use the woman's facility. We're not going to allow people, men in dresses, okay, to use the restrooms designated for women. That is the segregation that they're saying Trump is taking us back to, which is basically the segregation that we had back in 2007, okay, before Barack Obama became president. So 2007, okay, that's what we're talking about. So, again, you might be asking yourself, that's what they talk about? Yes, that's what they're talking about. Keeping in mind, an executive order is not the law, okay? Congress passes the law. Trump enforces the law as the president. All right, Trump enforces the law, and as you all know, Donald Trump has basically signed an executive order telling all the departments under the executive branch in the federal government only recognize two genders, men and women, male and female. That's it. None of that other spicy stuff is going to happen. That's not happening anymore. We're not doing any of that. Okay, that's what you're looking at this point. Okay, so this simply follows through. Now, the question you need to be asking yourself, well, doggone it, Uncle D, Mr. Sperling, why are they making a big deal about it? Because they think you are stupid. Somebody typed stupid in the chat room. Let me get up close. They think that you all are stupid. They think that they still maintain all the media outlets and they could just say any old foolish thing and everybody would just listen to them. All right, but then you have people like me who said, that's crazy. Now, again, I've been on vacation, so it's not my job to read for you, okay? But I just saw so much of this going on the internet, all on TikTok, and people, oh my God, we're going back to segregation. You got black people who are like, yeah, let's go back to segregation. You don't want to go back to segregation, okay? Because when you on I-10 or I-20 and you got to pee, you're not going to be able to go to the IHOP anymore. It's a white-owned IHOP at this point. The white-owned IHOP is going to say no colors allowed. You're not going to be able to go in there. All they're going to have is mayonnaise sandwiches. Okay, that's all they're going to have in there is mayonnaise sandwiches and mashed potatoes. Okay, but nothing that you want to eat anyway. But just saying, you still would want to be able to go in there and drop a load in the bathroom, drop the kids off at the pool, if need be. But you're not going to be able to do that. Black, white people, you don't want to go back to segregation either. Okay, because all the HBCUs be getting all the best football players. The SEC would just fall off the map. Grambling, Southern, Howard University, all the HBCUs, they have the best teams ever. Okay, all the white women. Well, shout out to all the white women there. All the white women will be hanging out at the HBCU games because that's where the NBA players and NFL players are going to be. All right, so you don't want to go back to segregation. I know you think you do. I know you tired of these N-words. I know y'all. You've been listening to these little propagandists on the internet. I know you think you tired of. Your food wouldn't have any seasoning in it anymore. Okay, you wouldn't be happy. You'd be out there over there by yourself, white folks. You don't want that. All right, you don't. I know you think you want it, but you need to tell somebody what to do. You know it's in your nature. White people, you like telling people what to do. You like giving out orders. We know you. You're bossy. Y'all some bossy people. You like giving out orders and giving out instructions. You might not want to do the work yourself, but you want to definitely be in charge of giving out the instructions and orders. And if all the black people go to their side of town, you don't have anybody to give. All the Mexicans and the black people and Latinos, we all over here. Ain't nobody. You're going to have to tell each other what to do. And you know you all don't like listening to each other. When somebody tell y'all start having civil wars. When y'all get to fighting too much. When it was just you all up in Europe, you just fought each other all the time for years and years and years. Just made up reasons to fight each other all the time. Same religion. Some of you all related, y'all just fought each other. Because you don't like anybody telling you what to do. So as soon as colored folk came along, you're like, all right, let's tell them what to do. Let's get together and call some call it supremacy. We'll tell them what to do. We don't have to fight each other. We'll take their things and give them Jesus, along with some micro diseases, kill them off, take their land and gold and hoard it. That's what you did. That's what you did. Take your talking to Take your talking to. I'm telling you. Black people, you don't want to be by yourself. It's a different time period. Matter of fact, it's too many black men and there's too many black men that like white women. I'm not, I tell the brothers, get your sister if you can, but I know it's too many black men that like white women. It's too many black women that like some white men. You want some of that white, you need some Brad in your life. Okay? And Brad like to tip on around there to the colored section anyway. Been doing it. Why you got so many light-skinned folks out here. Okay? So as much as y'all claim y'all don't like each other, black people, white people in America, stop lying to yourself. And all the rest of you folk, Mexicans, Latino, you don't want to be by yourself either. Okay? Because y'all are not hiring each other like white folks and black folks are hiring you. Okay? I've been, let me tell you something, and especially the Koreans. I've never seen Koreans sitting in the little nail shop having other Koreans doing their nails and selling them wigs. Black folks do that. Can't do that if you got your own, if you got our own shops. Can't do that then, can we? We need each other. We need each other. And I'm speaking to all Americans at this point. It's high time we stop letting these alarmists on either party use these things to try to get us gassed up and divided, okay? We need to stop letting these politicians, all of them, I'm talking to black people, white people, Hispanic people, Asian people, I'm talking to Republicans, Democrats, I'm talking to independents, recognize that all of these political parties, all they want is power. That's all they want. They want to maintain power. That's all they want. They want to maintain power. And if that means duping you, straight out lying to you, misleading you, getting you all in an uproar, they will. And you got to stop falling for it. Because at the end of the day, these people don't care if we tear our country apart based on some lies that they're sharing. Donald Trump has been the president before. We know what he's going to do. He's going to do the same thing he's been doing. He's going to do the same thing most Republican parties do. Most of y'all don't even know where the Department of Education is, don't know what it does. And yet you about to have a panic attack because they're dismantling it. Do you think the schools are going to close? Do you think this is seriously going to affect you in your life? Well, the way they have you believing it would, but it's not. It's just not. That's not how America works. That's not how the world, that's not how things work. There's going to be some changes. The pot of money is going to go from here to over there. But it's not going to change significantly. It's not going to change. Stop letting these politicians gas you up, family, especially black folks, because they really want you all to get riled up. They want to try to instill the fear of racism is coming back, roaring back, in hopes that you'll take to the streets and start, fighting with police and throwing bricks and riot. And this is what they want you to do. And if they have to flat out lie to you, I'm talking about black politicians lying to you. If these politicians have to flat out lie to you to get you back out there in those streets, they will. We are resting. You see me resting back here? Look at me. Do I look like I'm about to be pounding on, doing some boycotting? I'm nothing, none, done. Absolutely nothing. I'm resting. Everybody in the chat rooms might type, we resting in the chat. All the black people are resting. And they're trying the same old tricks. See, there was a time all the Democrat Party had to do to get black people to run to the polls and say racism. This candidate is a racist. This policy is racist. But I think we've gotten to a point where we're a little bit more sophisticated than that. First of all, racism is part of the ethos. I don't think there's any group of people on the planet who don't have bigotry and prejudice associated with part of their culture. And racism is just an outward extension of that extends out to systems and policies, where one group of people oppresses another people because they're different based on their ethnicity, their color, and of course you also have religious prejudice. People they experience racism because of that. Bottom line is it's not going anywhere. You're gonna have to deal with it. It's like the weather. There's a lot of racism out. Oh my God, I better get my racist umbrella. So I don't feel it as much, but you still got to do what you got to do. You got to take care of yourself. You got to feed your family. You got to pay your bills. You got to make yourself marketable in a system where you can earn money. It's just part of the ethos. It is what it is. It's not going anywhere. But yet and still, well, most black people realize that. We had a black president and still dealing with racism. There's no answer in politics for racism. Each individual person is entitled to feel how they want to believe, how they feel. You're not going to change people from their strongly held beliefs. It is what it is. Nevertheless, most black people realize, nothing I can really do about it except keep living my life. Yet and still, these Democrats refuse to believe that black people are far more politically sophisticated than we were in the 1960s, screaming racism and telling us this person is racist or they're going to send us back to segregation. First of all, only a fool would believe that. Only a damn fool. But all these interracial, biracial relationships it got going on, you think J.D. Vance is going to give up his Indian wife? That's just silly. It's just, if you really believe that, you're goofy. I hate to insult you, I love you, but you're extremely goofy, okay? But recognize they did that because they want you to be in an uproar. They want you to be afraid. And when I say they, I'm talking about the Democrats. That's the only reason anybody would run with that. They just drop it out there and see what sort of panic they can cause. Even though it is impossible, that's not what was said. That whole thing, as I explained before, was to make sure we segregate men and women in these facilities designated for biological men and biological women. We don't want people coming in saying, I identify as a man, and therefore I'm going to use the man's facilities, or vice versa. I identify as a woman, and therefore I'm going to be on the woman's volleyball team, even though I'm a whole man, okay, with man parts. But you guys got to stop allowing these political parties, especially the Democrats, because they're in such a desperate situation. They're doing desperate things. They're willing to tear the country apart just so they can maintain power. And that's not cool in any way. At all. Y'all keep that in mind, man. But anyway, I'm going back to my vacation. Shout out to everybody in the chat room. I appreciate y'all. If you contribute to the super chat, I appreciate y'all. I'm sorry I didn't give you a shout out. Shout out to everybody who contributed to the Cash App. It's all love, but I just wanted to chime in, to stop the country from destroying itself, because y'all think we going back to segregation. You ain't going to be able to keep that white woman that you laid up with, Playboy. I don't want you to do that. It ain't worth it, okay? It's just a big lie. They just getting you gassed up. That's all that is. Okay, and I just really would appreciate it if our political parties and representatives would tone it down a little bit. Because, see, we're living in a racially charged environment right now. If you don't believe me, look at all the white folks out here calling people the N-word. These white folk believe the Republican Party, and the conservatives had them believing that their country is being taken from them when, for all intents and purposes, white people are doing great. They're doing better than they ever have been doing. They still maintain the majority of the positions that they always maintain. They have the majority of the wealth. But if you would believe some of these politicians, they will have you believing that somehow white people are just doing horribly out here. You see? They're doing horrible. That's what they would have you believe. And so the conservative groups, they use this, fear that white folks are being replaced to get Donald Trump in. Okay, and again, I voted for Donald Trump, but I'm a lifelong Democrat. I voted for him because I could no longer tolerate some of these policies from the Democrat Party. On top of that, I wanted my taxes low. On top of that, I wanted to see some of these immigrants get up out of it. It was just too much. But the bottom line is I recognize fear-mongering on both sides. So it's not just the Democrats that do it. It's also the Republicans. And like I said, we're living in a racially charged environment because the Conservative Party had the Democrats, the Conservative Party had white folks believing that their country is being taken away from them, that they're being that it's just the country's gone. We are a country of almost 40 million people, and you telling me 14 million immigrants? 14 million immigrants out of 400 million is just totally changing everything. That doesn't even make sense. If I got a room of 380 million, 360 million people, so let's say I got a room of 360 people and I add 14 million, even if they came here illegally, what difference does that really make? I'm just saying, just think about it. And I'm not saying these people should be allowed to keep coming here, and yet definitely we need to close the borders. We need to build a wall. We need to send them back. I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying, family, is that don't let these people gas you up to destroy our country, because we don't have another country to go to. We're not going to Canada. We're not walking down to Mexico. We're not flying back to Europe, Europeans. Okay, we're not flying. We're definitely not going back to Africa. So these politicians, I wish they would tone it down. I wish they would behave more like statesmen instead of podcasters. Because the podcasters, I see podcasters are regulated more on YouTube than some of these politicians. These people say crazy things. And so because of that, you got people who actually think that these people are telling the truth. They have their best interests at heart. You think they're telling the truth, and they're not. They're just lying. They're alarmists. From AOC to Jasmine Crockett, all these people. And that's just on the Democrat side. And the Republicans have theirs too. These alarmists on both sides saying these crazy things to get the population to be divisive. So at this point, as I said, we're living in a racially charged environment. And people are at each other's throats. Not a day goes by I don't see some white man calling some black person in a fast food restaurant or because of road rage incident the N-word. And it only takes one thing to set off race riots and rebellion and all those things. And so we have to be careful. You know, I wish our politicians would behave more like statesmen than podcasters on social media. It's just irresponsible what they're doing. It's unfortunate what they're doing. I really don't know what to say other than, as the American public, we need to just take everything these politicians slash podcasters have to say with a grain of salt, because they're just flat out misleading us, calling this president a Yahtzee, calling everybody in the cabinet a Yahtzee, calling everybody white supremacists. It's just ridiculous. And it's no different than when the Republicans were saying all kind of crazy stuff, calling the left wing, calling them communists and socialists. It's just not. We're all Americans. And we got one country to live in. We got a great country. We got a great thing going on here. We're a young country. Okay, but we can't tear this thing apart. Because if we tear it apart, where we going to go? What we going to do? Just think about that. But either way, man, this is Uncle D. I love you guys, and I hope you appreciate this conversation. I hope all the people who witnessed this video, I hope you now understand that we're not going back to segregation. That was the whole point. It was simply an executive order that returned us back to pre-Barack Obama definitions of segregation. Black and white segregation is still illegal. They just, okay? And so desegregation of the bathrooms, the distinguishing between men and women, that's not going to happen. That's the problem that Donald Trump had. We're going to protect our women. We're going to give our women a voice. And that's not being a chauvinist. It's just doing what men came up with the laws. Men need to change the laws. You understand? To protect women. So either way, this is Uncle D. It's getting dark. Can y'all see me? Either way, baby, I love y'all. God bless y'all. As I always said this time, I'm out.